Hey everyone, hope you can all hear me, and hopefully this is all going to be okay. Let me know in the chat. My name is Chris Jones, and welcome to my stream. Before I get started, thanks Andre. Before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you to a few people. I tweeted out earlier on this afternoon that I was going to be doing the stream, and between then and now, I've actually gained a few Twitch followers. So I just want to say thank you to QMacro99, Finn S, Joe Green Tea, and XRLX. Thank you ever so much for following me on Twitch, and hopefully you'll continue to join me as I do these. So my name's Chris Jones. I'm a software developer based in Norfolk in UK, and I was recently inspired to do a stream by watching a couple of other guys, and yeah, so I thought I'd kind of give it a go. And I also want to give a massive shout out to Rambling Geek. He managed to achieve a Twitch affiliate at the weekend. So well done, Rambling Geek, and just want to say hello to the guys in the chat room. So I see we've got Andre88 with us, Ancient Coder, Skinny Seahorse, Slow Cool, and Stockholm, Sweden. Welcome, and thank you for joining. So I wanted to start off tonight's stream talking about Git branches, and basically this has just come out of something off the back of Rambling Geek stream on Saturday night, I think it was, and just kind of just wanted to talk about Git branches and kind of my approach to how I use them, both in my day-to-day work and also how I use them when I'm working on kind of my own projects as a single developer, because the approach is slightly different. There isn't kind of the whole review process as such. Um, so yeah, so what I was going to do, I was just going to start off spending probably about 20 minutes, half an hour, um, talking about the Git branches, and then I'm going to move on and do some more work on the Community Fit project that we started a little while ago. Um, Glad I remembered what ancient coder. I'm not sure. Well, about the Git branches. If that's the case, then yeah, I did make a note of it on Saturday. So I've taken to a point of just writing a couple of notes in one note down, um, just to kind of hopefully refine my skills as a streamer. Um, so hopefully I'm not going to have the audio issues that I did last week when I done a stream. But yeah, it seems to be okay. So I'm going to be looking down for a little bit of this, and the reason I say that is I'm just going to move the camera quickly, and you'll see not very well, but I've got my surface down here, and I'm going to use that to draw on. So apologies if it doesn't look like I'm looking at the camera. Um, and as you can see, my dodgy green screen is living up to its name. It's being dodgy. Let's move my chair over that way a little bit, and hopefully that will cover up all the sins. And yes, I do, Andre. I do know you don't like Git, but I try and encourage you to use it. So let's see how this goes. So I'm just gonna switch over to my start project and my surface screen, and so I'm going to start off talking about how I use these in my day-to-day work as a team, and then I'll talk about how I use them as a individual developer. So, right, just be conscious about moving the surface because I've got it docked at the moment. I tried this last night and I knocked the dock connector out, and if I do that, it's going to kill the stream. Which, if that does happen, stick with me. I'll plug it back in and I'll start the stream as soon as I can. Hopefully that won't be the case though. Okay, so let's get to drawing on my surface with a surface pen. Obviously not a real one. Don't want to do that. So how our team works at where I work. Trying to think of the best way of explaining this. So we pretty much have a bucket of work items that we all get given, and I'll apologise now about my dodgy handwriting. Hopefully you guys can read it. If not, I will be explaining my way through this, so hopefully if you can't read what I'm writing, you'll understand what I'm saying. So there's a list of work items that we get given, and being a team, there's quite a few of us, so I'm just gonna draw some dudes, and so we've all got a copy, and down here I'm gonna say this is our server, or our remote Git instance, and so there will be a master branch that is along here, and feel free to, yeah, bad gamer hangman, thanks Andre. I'm by no means a Git expert either. This is just my take on how Git branches work and how I use them day to day and personally. Um, so yeah, so as you know, whenever someone runs git clone, they're effectively getting all of the history onto their local machines of that repository, and along with that, they'll have a local version of master, and that is the same for every person who's decided to clone that repository. Now, for to try and keep this as simplistic as possible, there's a number of tools that can be used to manage the work items. There's Azure DevOps boards, there's Jira, there's Trello. I think even GitHub has now got like their project board, I think, can be used for this. And they're all different ways of managing kind of work items. But let's just say there's a list of work items, and we'll give them like a name of feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, and just to throw it in there, a bug fix of 99. So what will probably happen is a developer will be looking for some work, and they will take the next higher priority thing out of the list, and this is normally managed by various people within the organization as to what they want delivered next. So just for argument's sake, these have all been prioritized, let's just say that. So let's say the current person looking for work is dev1 over here. I'll give all these people names, so dev2 and dev3. So dev1 is going to pick up feature 1. So he's assigned that task to himself. I did start trying to do this as a PowerPoint presentation. I gave up after a little while, and I thought it was going to be much more fun doing it live. I don't have the sound clip that Jeff has, unfortunately, but thought I'd give it a go of doing some dodgy drawing on stream. So Dev1 has picked up the task of feature 1, and what they will probably do, they will make sure that their current master is up to date with whatever's on the remote. So they will, and there's a couple of ways they can do this. I'm going to tell you the way that I do it. It may be the right way. It may be a slightly longer way. There's numerous ways of being able to do it. But yeah, the way I would do this is I would first make sure that I've got my local master branch checked out, and I would do that. This is going to be fun. Let's just grab my keyboard because I'm just going to type that rather than try and write it. So I would do that by typing get fetch master, and that would get me the latest master, and then so that would get me the latest master locally, and then I would pull that into my, sorry, I've got that completely wrong. So what I would do first is I would first check out my local master branch. I would then fetch the, I'm doing this from memory, I can never remember if these commands work or not, but it's something along the lines of git fetch origin master, and then I will pull that into my current branch. At this point in time, my master branch is now fully up to date with what is ever currently on the remote. So let's do that. And where's my mouse gone? Right. So if everything there has gone okay, I would then create a new local branch for this particular feature. And the way I typically name my branches in my day-to-day job, normally prefix it with what it is I'm working on, the ticket ID, so that there's an easy correlation. Um, so you can do that as a two-step process. I prefer to do it as a one-step process. So that is just a case of doing a git checkout -b for branch, and then the name that you want to call it. So in my case, I'm going to call it feature, and then I'd normally give it whatever the ticket ID is. So in this case, it would be feature 1. And what that then does, it at this point in time, so I've got all of the latest master code. At this point in time, I take a cut of that, and I've now got a branch that's come off of master, and this is my feature 1 branch. And I can start messing around in this branch, doing what I need to, trying things out, and yeah, and doing various other things. And whilst that's happening, the devs down here can be doing the same thing for. I'm just going to start scrolling everywhere now. They can do the same thing for the next items that are in the backlog of items that need to be done. Now, what would kind of happen if your big boss, draw him over here, comes in and says, we've got a big production issue, I need somebody to work on it. Everyone's currently got assigned some work, and big boss can't wait, he needs it fixed now, which more often than not happens. And oh, thanks Rambling Geek, and thank you C# Fritz for hosting me. That's much appreciated. So yeah, so the big boss has come in and said, we found an issue in production, we need somebody on it straight away. And it can be any one of these that needs to, or that can pick it up. It might be the case that it was actually Dev 3 down here who implemented the feature to start off with. So it'd make more sense for him to park what he's doing and pick that up, because he's got knowledge of that particular code base and what he's done to implement that feature. So what will probably happen, so at this point in time, he's got his current branch over here, and what did he have? He had feature 3. So what he could do is he can go, right, okay, I'm gonna stop doing what I'm doing at the moment, and he can just save all of his work at that point in time. So, and that would just be him just doing a local commit of all the files. So I'll probably just do something like git add, git commit, work in progress, done, X, Y, tried Z. So the WIP, work in progress, just an acronym. So you might just do something like that, and that means that that is there ready for him to come back after he's looked at this really urgent production bug. And what you can now do again is he can check out his local master, um, get all of the latest back into there, and then from there he can then create a new branch. So all the time master is moving along, but he's that just looks really bad now, and let's, oh, too far. So yeah, let's just say master's carried on, but he's kind of picked up this new branch and he's um, done a git checkout, -b, and he's given it the name of prodfix. He might know straight away what the issue is. So at this point, I have no idea why I've just drawn a mountain range. That's supposed to be a document. Um, so he's made a couple of file changes. He's tested his stuff. Fairly happy that he's fixed everything. And so he now decides to push those changes, and he'll push them back into master. And depending on how your organisation's set up, I know for the stuff that I do, I have to have two people look at the code. One of those has to be a senior developer, and the other one can just be like a peer, just to kind of make sure I've not done anything too dodgy, or they might think there's a better way of doing something. So we'd push something into master, we'd raise a pull request, and if that gets approved, that then gets merged into master. Now, at this point, master's moved on a little bit, so the guy up here, he's been working on feature 1, his master is now well out of date, but if he just done a git pull for origin master, I'm just scrolling all over the place now. So this is the remote master, if you remember. So this has now got, so at a point in time it had the prodfix branch, and that has now been merged back in, and now we're like around here somewhere. When dev1 up here decides to do a get pull, he's now pulling master in from this point in time, so after that's been merged in, so his master branch will then become up to date again with master. All at this point as well, everything that he's done is still only on his machine. He's not pushed anything up to the remote server. And once he's finished doing his work, he can do the same thing that dev3 down here did, and just push it into master, create a PR, and if that gets approved, master just carries on, and you'll have an existing branch of feature 1, which would started around about here. That's when dev1 started it. I'm getting a bit of lag on my pen, and has now been merged back into master. So although that's quite complicated, it's quite difficult to try and explain, that is kind of how the teams that I work in kind of use Git and branches. And there was a question as well during Rambling Geeks stream at the weekend, was around releases. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wipe everything because I can, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. So how do we manage releases like using Git? So what generally happens, um, so there's a couple of periods really that kind of happen every release that the company I work for does. So around about, and these are only rough dates, so we'll have a release scheduled at some point in the future, which will be release day. And there'll be a few windows before this. So there'll be, if I get this right, we have, again, my dodgy writing is living up to its name. So there's, so I actually work for quite a large organisation with multiple applications. Uh, so so the so the windows that we have a code cutoff, we have non-functional testing window, regression window, and then finally the release day. Now we have our master branch still on the remote, so that's all the way along here. So at a point in time, so all the time there's a team of devs still constantly working, and they could be working on um, on their current work, so for the current release, and there could be another couple which are working on any current release issues prior to the release that we've identified, and there's probably still, my people are getting even dodgier, that are doing like future work that aren't even working towards anything for this particular release. Yeah, large family. um, so these guys are going to be constantly pushing stuff into master, which won't have reached code sign off for that particular release. But what will kind of happen when we reach the code cutoff point, we will take a branch off of master, and this we'll call it release 1 for example. And all the time, so once release 1 has been created, the only changes that we will allow in here is any bug fixes or any performance improvements if something comes out of the non-functional testing or regression testing. And so there could be, the team of devs might have picked up some issues, so they will be pushing code into that release branch, and the same for these guys down here. They're not pushing their changes into the master branch because the master branch is full of code that is potentially not tested, potentially not stable. So the last thing we want to do, or not finished features. So we want to keep the release branch as stable as possible. And during this time, this will continue going through these testing periods, and it will finally get packaged and then released to production. Now, once that's happened, after it's been released to prod, there'll be one of the lead devs that will pull all the latest master changes into there, and then that branch will get merged into master. That looks like a dodgy barrel with some description there. But after it's been released to prod, what happens if there's something that's come out that we haven't found in testing? So this branch could potentially still hang around, or we could branch off of here and have something called a hotfix branch. And again, that kind of follows the same process as this all over again. So we're not necessarily with all of the same windows. So I won't have a code cut off. Normally it'd be like a 2-week warranty period. So once it's been deployed, people will keep an eye on any reported errors, and if everything's okay, then that whole process starts over again for the next release. So that's kind of my overview from inside an organization, how we use Git branches and how we use those for releases. Does anyone in the chat have any questions before I move on to how I use branches in a single developer project? I'm just going to take a quick drink whilst anyone is potentially typing. I'll just pause for a bit longer because I know that if there are any questions, they're probably going to be quite long. Cool. Thanks, Ancient Coder. Glad that I've been able to explain it. I've tried it a few times at work, and good to know that I can actually make it make sense. So, how I use Git branches as a single developer, it's taken me ages to get my head around how on earth do I, and can I do this, and it's actually saved me a couple of times. It does mean getting into a different mindset, but it's really good for when you get distracted and start going down a rabbit hole, and I'll show you why. So I've wiped the slate clean, as you can tell. So again, if we have a master branch, and if you're working on a project by yourself, this at the start, this would probably just be some template or boilerplate code that you have got. So in the case of doing any .NET stuff or .NET MVC or Razor pages, it might just be the core concepts. Ancient Coder, yeah, single def as a personal project type thing, so something you're just working on in your spare time. So you might just have a single commit at this point with some boilerplate code, and then you go. And it's very tempting to constantly just only use your master branch rather than actually, yeah, rambling geek, bit like us streamers. It's very tempting just to do everything on this master branch and just commit every now and again. And what you'll find is over time, if you get more comfortable with Git, you'll start realizing that all those times that you've had something working and then you've broken it, and then you go, I really wish I could remember how I had that working. This is a really neat way once you've got into the mindset of being able to make sure that if you really screw something up on one of your local projects, you can get back to a nice working state. So yeah, Rambling Geek, I do kind of get that. I'm a bit between the two, so not necessarily use it in Visual Studio, but I do use a Git client called Git Extensions. It was something that was introduced to me as I was learning Git, but I do try and do as much as I can in the command line. And yeah, self-discipline as well, Andre. Yeah, so yeah, and I'll explain in a second why I think it's such a beneficial tool, using it, and why it's really good if you can, every time you work on something new or you start to go off on a tangent, you create a branch. So rather than just having one long master branch with loads of commits, let's just undo some of these. So it might be you've got your boilerplate code, and then you're thinking, right, what's the first thing I'm going to work on? And it might be something that is fairly simple, you've done numerous times, and you might be thinking, yeah, that's fine, I'll just do that straight off the bat. But what I found is I generally screw something up, like trying to be a bit too cocky. And this might seem a bit overkill, but it has saved me a couple of times. So what I would do, so my first feature for a personal project might be authentication, similar to what I'm doing currently on the Community Fit project. So I would create a branch for authentication and give it like a fairly unique name, not necessarily a really descriptive name, but just something so that I kind of know what I'm doing. And then I'll work inside that branch to complete all the authentication stuff and merge that into master branch. And then it might be that there's a particular feature that I want to do, and let's just say it's an API integration of some description. So at that point I'll create a branch here. And one of the things that I found, that I really wanted to do previously, is especially, I think it was around the .NET Core upgrades between 1 and 2. I had a project similar to where I'd done some stuff on this, and .NET Core 2 came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to upgrade. And I started doing it, and I didn't create a branch or anything, which was, in hindsight, stupid. Because I screwed it up and then spent ages undoing everything that I'd done and trying to get everything working again. But even if I haven't finished something that I'm working on, if I just committed what I was doing there and then gone, right, I'm going to start a new branch here, and this is going to be a .NET Core upgrade. And I can make as many breaking changes as I want in this code, doesn't matter, because I've still got all my work saved in these other branches down here, and this one's already in master, so that's available here. So I can pretty much change nearly every single thing that's there. If that doesn't work, I can just either check out master, check out my old branch, or if I want to go, I still want to do this, but I can't remember what I've done, what I've screwed up, I can just do a git reset, which I can't spell. And what that would do is that would effectively erase everything that I'd done there and just put me back at this starting point. And I can then rerun all of those things again. And similarly, that can be the same with if I'm doing a website and I see a new theme or something that I want to try out because I don't like the current theme that I'm using. It might just be a bootstrap template or something like that. Then I can just go, yeah, let's try putting that in. If it works, great, I'll bring that back into master and everything's okay. And I can come back down to my old branch down here, pull all of the latest master code in and then carry on working on there. Or yeah, and that's kind of how I kind of use Git in my personal projects. Do you guys in the chat have any questions about that at all? Doesn't matter if you don't, but hopefully that's been quite a good overview as to Git and how I use it. Doesn't look like there's any questions so far, which is good. Well, it's either good or bad. It either means that I've confused everyone, nobody knows any questions that they can think of asking, or it's good because I've explained it well enough. So, whilst you guys are potentially typing questions, I'm going to move my surface, so apologies if I do end up going offline. Hopefully I shouldn't. I'm going to be really careful to not knock the dot connector. So I haven't gone offline yet. Cool, all good and insightful. Now get on with it. Haha, Andre. Nice joke. If only I had some sound effects. So, so at the end of last stream, I was trying to, let's get rid of that and go back onto the other display. There we go. So, end of last stream, looking at getting identity working inside the Community Fit project, and I left it because scaffolding all of the identity stuff was taking ages, and Andre with the puns, branch out into a new career, maybe one day. Well, I don't know what that career would be. I quite like doing dev work. It's what I do as a hobby, and I'm actually fortunate enough to get to do it in a day-to-day job. Yeah, Rambling Geek. I need to try and get hold of a Stream Deck first, because that's just going to be a nightmare trying to manage them without one. Oh, sorry, Andre. Okay, yeah. You should commit to telling more jokes. Yeah, okay. Andre with all the Git puns. So just to flip back to where we got to last week. So probably about 5 or 10 minutes after the stream ended, the scaffold thing decided to finish, which is typical. It had taken about half an hour, I think. Yeah, Rambling Geek, absolutely apply for it. What's the worst thing they can do? They can turn around and say no. Not saying that is what's going to happen, but it's not the end of the world if they do. Ask them for feedback, see what they say. Yeah, don't worry about being quick enough. Like I'm almost 2 years into my job, and pretty much nearly every single task I pick up, I have to go and bug our senior developer, just to ask him for like questions that he's probably told me 3 or 4 different times. But I'm quite lucky. The team that I'm in, they're all really nice people, and all willing to help one another. And likewise, if I can and where I can, I will help them, because some of my skill set might be something that they're not aware of, and there's certainly developers in my team and across the organisation who've been developers for years, 10, 15, longer, then, but I didn't, as I've mentioned before, I didn't do the whole college or university route. I actually worked my way up through the business, so in some ways that gives me a bit more insight because I've dealt with the frontline customers, and I then spent a few years in testing, which was my foot in the door in IT, and then yeah, and then yeah, fortunately I was able to stick with it. So is it with the same company, Rambling Geek, or um, is it a new company? But yeah, as Andre's saying, I think that was one of the reasons. So the team I was actually put into was actually quite um, in depth isn't quite the word I'm looking for, but they're certainly using newer technologies that aren't really known in the organisation. So they are pretty much a specialist team, and I was quite worried because I knew I was going to have a steep learning curve when I started, and it was about, I think the learn like it wasn't a curve at all. It was like almost vertical line, and yeah, they've been really good to support me. But like Andre's saying, it was, I think they accepted me on the basis that actually I'm I'm quite new to coding, so they can kind of mold me into the way they want me to code, which I don't have an issue with. If there's something that I think that can be done a better way, I'll try and raise it. But and I think they're happy as long as I've gone away, I've looked at something, I've tried a couple of things, and I've gone back and gone, I've tried this, that didn't work. What do you think about this? And it, and just show that I've been willing to try and solve a problem. Um, I haven't always been able to, which is fine. And then and then sit down with them for a little while. Um, but yeah, um, again, Ancient Coder, agree with you. Is fear? I guess it's fear of the unknown, and yeah, just trying to get that courage up to make the jump. Um, it is scary. I personally know people who've made a jump into other organisations, and they've been there for a year, maybe two, and have come back to the company that I work at. On the flip side, there's some people who've made that jump and have stayed, or vice versa. They've jumped over to us and have stayed. But yeah, fear of the unknown, I guess. Um, yeah, and yeah, I guess it's each to their own. I don't. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that for the time being. If I can give any advice, feel free to reach out either on Twitter or one of the other platforms, and I'll try and answer if I can. Um, but yeah, so back to the Community Fit project. So the scaffolding for the identity eventually finished last week, and let's just move some of these windows so they're not clogging up the space. So where did we get to? So yeah, so I did a tiny bit off stream last week, and then I kind of left it, but I did write some notes. So one of the things, so because we use the scaffold identity, and hopefully this is going to do what I hope it's going to do, which is what it did last week. Yeah, echo ancient coders statement there. So let us know how you get on, and good luck if you decide to apply, which I hope you do. So I'm just building the project, so hopefully this should be fairly quick. Just want to make sure I've got Docker running as well. So I've tried doing a couple of system tweaks as well after the pain last week of my system going really slowly. Hopefully it's not going to be as painful this week. Okay, so that now looks like it's built, and hopefully this will fire up a web browser. Which it has just off screen. So just give this a second to load. Maybe a few seconds for the first time. Feel like you need to explain in a covering letter why you think you can do the programming. Do you know what sort of language or anything like that they're using? I'd definitely say that you've mentioned the whole thing about now streaming. Definitely think that's worthwhile sticking something on there. I know somebody that we recently hired who only fairly recently created a blog, and the only reason he done that is so that he could stick something on his CV saying that he had a blog. Um, and but yeah, it worked. It helped him get him the job. So I'm wondering if I fixed some of the issues that I remember I had last week, and I just want to double check. So what you get when you add the scaffolding is another identity context, and that was causing some issues, which I fixed, and I did want to go through on stream, but I now can't remember what it was. Possibly something in startup. Let me just quickly try logging in. Okay, yeah, yeah. Congratulations on getting to 24-year service. Is that with the same company in the same role, or have you moved different companies during that time? Rambling Geek. Um, it's definitely not. Um, it definitely is achievable, and I say that because there is a developer in another team that I know who, like yourself, was in IT support, and I think he developed a couple of applications to help with the IT support side of things, and yeah, got got in that way. Different companies, okay. But yeah, it's definitely doable. Yeah, it starts to get taking a pay cut starts to complicate matters, I think. I was quite lucky. I didn't get a pay rise as such when I moved jobs. I would have liked to, but I didn't. Um, but it was a job that I knew I wanted, so I was quite happy. And I guess in some ways I did take a bit of a pay cut because I used to, as a test engineer, um, we used to do releases during the weekends on a Sunday because that was early Sunday, I should say, and I used to get paid extra for doing those. So I would always go, yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to come in and do those. But the team I'm now in, we don't have that, so I did effectively take a pay cut in a way. So it looks like I haven't actually started the Docker container that I need for this, so that serves me right. I've got a pre-stream checklist of making sure that I have Docker running. Didn't actually check to see if the Docker container was running. Maybe I should add that to it. So there we go. Here's our community fit databases, and they've been exited 7 days ago. So that's both. So it's 3310 we ended up with. And let's get my Docker commands mixed up now. Let's bring the one that's running on 3310 up. There we go. So that's now up and running. So hopefully if I now refresh. Ancient Coder is testing easier than dev. Yes and no. I think it all depends on what sort of testing you're focused on. One thing I didn't realise is there are multiple disciplines of testing. So automation testing is getting a lot more popular now. If you're doing that, that is quite. If you're in kind of the testing space already, it's definitely a good way to. And if you're looking at moving potentially into a dev role one day, it's definitely a good way to kind of make that move and get you some experience. So as an automation tester, you are writing some code, especially if you're looking at behavior driven development. So that's kind of so if anyone in the chat doesn't know behavior driven development, the idea is that there's for each feature of an application, everything is broken down into uh, stories and scenarios. So you might have, tell you what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hopefully bring up a BDD example. BBD? That's not what I need. I have no idea what this is going to return. So I'm aware that BDD actually stands for something else as well. So what is BDD testing? I want to find an example of a particular story. or an example of how to write a scenario. So here we go. So each thing is starts out and gets split up into different scenarios, and it's then written in a business language. So it's completely non-technical. Um, so that means that anyone not from IT can come and have a look at this and understand what the test is trying to achieve without having to look at any code whatsoever. And behind this are code snippets, which in turn drive web browsers. So Selenium is a common one, and it can't check necessarily if the location of an element is on a page. So it can't say you want to see, using a slightly different example. It might be something that given a customer is logged out but has an account, when I have logged in, then I will see a profile picture. You can check for the element of the profile picture is on the page, where you can't actually check the position of it on the page, but you can check for its presence. That's BDD, and again, if you can do probably as much or as little as that as you want. If you want to get into the code inside, it's definitely a good introduction, and can use that as kind of a bridge, if you like, into there. So that kind of covers off automation testing in a way. There's some other applications that can be used for that. You've got the non-functional testers, and their purpose is to write scripts that will almost hammer your application to see how well it performs under load. So they can simulate like 1,000 users trying to log in to your application at any one time and check what kind of the response time of the application is, and if that's within an acceptable time period. So they're kind of probably the more technical out of the testing roles. You've then got, so I've just noticed my green screen of a description has just fallen down. I'll stick that back up in a second. You've got the other couple of types of testers there are. You've got the manual tester, and you've also got the user acceptance tester. They're kind of fairly similar. The user acceptance tester would normally be testing an entire journey. So it might be, if you're testing an online shop, you test that you can log in, you can check that you add items to your basket, you can check you pay for them, the prices are right, and it processes that order, and you can log out again. And you're just checking that as an end user, that particular feature works, and you'll also be checking that nothing else has been broken in the process. And then you've got kind of the manual tester, who pretty much most of the time will just be looking at the individual components of an application. So it might just be you'll have one person or one or two people that are just concerned to make sure that the login and the security side of the system are working as they should, and each user can they can log in, they can change their password, they can change their email address, but they can't do anything they shouldn't. So they shouldn't be able to look at other people's profiles. So yeah, it's quite a difficult question Ancient Coder, as to if testing is easier than dev. They both have their challenges. They both have their time constraints. I definitely think, and this was one of my arguments during my interview to become a developer, is why do you think you'd make a good developer? And one of my reasons was, well, I've been a tester for, I think I've been a tester for about 6 years. So I've got that testing mindset, the analytical mindset that I need to think about things. And so when I'm developing a feature, it might be, yeah, I can do X, but actually having the mindset of the tester going, okay, you can do X, but what actually happens if you do Y? And I think I saw something on Twitter the other day, which, let me see if I can find it. Because one of the things as a tester, one of the earliest things you kind of learn about is about boundary testing, which is if you've got an input field of a number, say there's a minimum number of 10, a maximum number of 25. The first thing as a tester would do is come in and say, what happens if I put 9 in? What happens if I put 26 in? Just to see if the boundaries work. But there was, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I hope I can. But it was, I'll try and explain it the best I can. There's a supermarket fast lane, and you'll probably be kind of aware of this sort of thing, where they'll have like an express lane where it's like baskets only or 10 items or less. But somebody had put one, I can't remember the name of the supermarket, and I think I may have retweeted it, but I can't remember. But basically, they'd put 10 items more or less. And I was like, well, what's going to happen? You're just going to end up with people with trolleys just turn up to that aisle. I was like, well, it says more or less. You haven't said exactly what it is that I can have. And yeah, so it's just having that analytical mindset about being a tester that I think gives me a slight edge over some of the other developers. But that's just my opinion on that. I'm just going to take a very quick break to fix the green blanket, aka my green screen, and to grab a drink. Hopefully you guys will still be here when I come back. Should only be 2 or 3 minutes or so, I reckon. Then I'll do a bit more on the community fit. So see you in a bit. Hey everyone, I'm back. Hopefully, everyone else is. Um, yeah, welcome back. I see there's a few guys in the chat that I haven't recognised before. Don't be shy. Feel free to get chatting. We're all friends here. Hi CMSJ1. Um, so oh, appears to have the same name. Yeah, does look almost like we do. Welcome. Hopefully you're finding the stream useful. So there's a underneath my name in Twitch. There's a bit more information with the link out to GitHub about me and about what I'm trying to achieve on stream. If you want to take a look, if you think it's something you want to get involved in, by all means join us. I'm trying to stream regularly on a Tuesday evening at the moment, starting roughly around 8:30 in the evening, UK time. And no, I'm not a fake account, as you can tell. I'm very much real. Um, yeah, uh, hopefully this is a similar sort of content that you were looking for um, as you were looking. So yeah, so where do we get to? So the Community Fit project is currently was broken. I've started my MySQL Docker container and it's working again. And so I think I've got there we go. So there's some issues that I kind of was I want to say I was kind of aware of. I think I was aware of them. So I'm going to fix them on stream. So the first one is I know why. So we've created a custom community fit user and it's trying to use the default out of the box identity user in the logout page. So I am going to go to the logout page, which is so now that I've added identity in, it's created all of these partials and templated pages. So what I just need to do is look at the code behind for the logout page, and there we go. So it's currently trying to use identity user. We're not using identity user, we've extended that. So that's going to be community fit user that we're using. And I do have Karnak running, but it's on the wrong display, which isn't going to help anyone. So where's that opened up? There we go. So it should. No, wrong monitor again. One of these, I'm sure of it. No, back to the wrong one. Should be this one. Ah, there we go. Finally. Okay, CMSJ1. I'll be sure to try and check your stream out. What sort of times do you normally stream? And what sort of coding do you do? Let us know. Intrigued. So I just need to change that here as well. So we should be good for the logout. Yeah, continue. And I may just need to rebuild Okay, that's fine. Glad to have you along. Let's see if this works. So just rebuilt and restarted, and hopefully this will now do the login and log out for me without breaking. So if any of the guys in the chat have any questions, so you've not been very vocal yet, feel free to stick a question in the chat. We'll try and answer it. We're a fairly friendly bunch. Or even if you just want to say hi, say hi. Don't be shy. So there we go. So I'm currently logged in. Log out. Okay. Interesting. So I have a Chrome extension called Edit This Cookie. It's just an easy way of deleting all the cookies in the browser. Let's just try this again. Okay, CMS J1. Coding is usually on a Mac app that you maintain. What sort of app is it, if you don't mind me asking? And if you don't mind promoting it, that's more than happy to see what it is you're working on. There we go. So it might just have been some lingering cache issue that I had. So log in, log out is working. Although I say that, it says I've successfully logged out, but I hadn't. Now it's taking me back there. I have had a similar issue to this before on another application, and I think all I did to get around it is in the startup class where we can, no, sorry, inside the identity hosting. I'm trying to remember where it was that I configured. There is a way you can configure the path to where you log out. And there goes the green screen again. And I'm just going to leave it like that. But what I will do is I'll turn the chroma key off, because to stop it looking really fuzzy, because that's not going to help anyone. There we go. Right. Yeah, that's the only trouble. I think overuse of the green screen has kind of made it a bit weak, so I need to look at strengthening it up somehow. So there was yeah, green screens on the wall. I did try that, Rambling Geek. Unfortunately, the wall is just that little bit too far away for it to cover all of the camera. But actually, saying that, since the last time I done it, I figured out how to crop the camera, so it might not be an issue anymore. Might be a project for the weekend in between watching other streams. Trying to keep up with all the streams now is proving difficult, but want to try and keep up with as many as I can. There's definitely a lot of good streams that are happening at the moment. And so what I'm looking for, configure identity maybe. There's that's what I'm after. Identity options. Okay, so start. So identity options. Configure. There should no. There should be login. No, so that's just password options. There's, I'm sure, here we go, login path. That's configure application cookie, that's why. Oh, don't want to do that. Right, that's not tight. And there we go. So log out path. So stop. No, that should be login path. No, that should be log out path. Get it right in a second. And similar for login path. I did just want to double check that have I made that up? No, there is a logout path, just I got the casing wrong, and it looks. Why is that complaining? Doesn't look like it needs any additional properties. Go with it for the minute. Yeah, I had previously tried hanging the green blanket on the wall just using some masking tape and some insulation tape, but that didn't work. At some point I would like to try and invest in a proper one if this is a regular thing. There's a lot more equipment that I could potentially use, but let's see how it goes. So no, so ops is defined. It's just not because I'm trying to do it as a parameter and it's not a constructor. go. So that's now worked, hopefully. So I will just rebuild this. I need to figure out why this isn't rebuilding on save. .NET Core projects normally do. Guess it's probably a weird setting that I've got somewhere. Yeah, command strips are best. I think about this point, about 90% of my house by volume is command strips. CMSJ1, yeah, they're definitely good if you're in a rented property, I believe. Sorry, Ancient Code, I've just seen your message in chat. I normally do zoom in. Hopefully that's a bit better now. Yeah, I think I was doing something the other night and yeah, decided to zoom out because normally every day I prefer the smaller the font, but I forget when I'm streaming. In fact, I will add that to my my checklist of things to do before I start a stream. So let me know if the zoom level's okay there, Ancient Coder. I did see it, but only just. No worries, CMSJ1. Take care, and hopefully catch you here again. You want the Elgato green screen and LED lamp? Yeah, I definitely think they've cornered the market in stream tools. I think. So what was I doing? Yeah. So that's now built, and let's start that again. Thanks, Andre. Yeah, I can see why. I'm guessing the auto mod stepped in on that one. I didn't quite catch that myself. Yeah, I gathered which word it didn't like. Value must start with a slash. Okay, so obviously doesn't like me putting the squigglies in there. Okay, let's try that. Oh, too soon, I think. So I'm guessing Robert Tables is streaming tonight as well, Rambling Geek. I haven't looked yet. I'm not sure if I've seen the notification either. Yeah, he is. So I think I'm probably going to go for about another 15 minutes. Try and keep this at a 2-hour-ish stream. I do have work tomorrow, unfortunately. But yeah, I spent a bit too long talking about Git. Trying to watch both. I bet that's interesting. And thank you for the support, Ancient Coder. Much appreciated. Yeah, really liking the support I'm getting from kind of, I guess, the family that's been created by Jeff over on his channel. But yeah, much appreciated the support. Right, so that's now working again. So let's see if the logout issue has resolved itself. I'm hoping it has. When are you due back in the UK, Ancient Coder? believe you said you were on holiday for about another week, I think. There we go, so we've logged in. Logged out, although it's not refreshed up there, which is strange. Wonder why it doesn't like that. 23rd back in the UK, just in time for the snow, if we get any. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a shock, I guess. Cool, thanks Ancient Coder. Yeah, I've tried explaining it to a few people that I've worked with when they've come into the team. Not necessarily developers, but kind of new people, apprentices. Tried to kind of explain it, so it's definitely good to kind of get some other people's insights into how I explain things, just to make sure I'm not going down a complete rabbit hole. And so this should exist. It's identity account, isn't it? I wonder if that's why. So I believe login sits under identity account login, yeah. So identity account log out also sits there. So what I could, unless it doesn't know where to return to, and that could be an issue. So I'm just going to return them back to the home page at that point if they're logged out. I'm not fussed by giving them a "you've logged out" message. It's officially Chris time. What, me stumbling around in code? So I'll spend most of my day. So let's see if that has worked. Taking your oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with you now. So I'm friends with Andre, for the guys in the chat, and I'm normally doing bits and pieces on the computer and texting them about half 10, 11 o'clock. So that is now known in his household as Chris time, because I'm normally up quite late, and he isn't. Okay, so that's still not worked. So I can't remember if I actually built and refreshed. Yeah, I think Andre 88 should do a coding stream. What do you reckon? Oh, he's gone quiet. He used to stream some games. Fair enough. Right, so let's try this again. Should really keep a a crib sheet of stuff that I've run into before, and just kind of notes as to how I fixed them. So the next time I need to do the same thing, I've got an easy reference to it rather than trying to remember. So there we go. So you've logged in. So it's going to the identity logout and then it's going back to that. And I think the issue has to be something on the page. So that's going to be inside this login partial. Because at that point, the user is logged out, but the page hasn't refreshed. And I wonder. So these are all of the logged out bits. External login. Not what I need. Oh, sorry, this isn't login. What I need, I'm just going to login partial. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, so if you're logged in, you'll see the route to. Wonder if it's okay. So I see what it's doing. So when you're posting to this endpoint, it's posting some extra data in with it to redirect you back to the root of the site, which is effectively what I tried to force here with a return local redirect of a /, and that isn't currently working. So what I'm going to do, because I said I was going to finish about 10:30 anyway, I'll keep this for next stream. I'll push everything that I've got currently. If anyone wants to take a look, it'll be available on GitHub, and I'll have a look and I'll come up with a couple of tasks to do on the next stream, which we can hopefully work through together. And I'll call it a night here. Thank you everyone for joining me, and yeah, hopefully I'll catch you next time. What I'm going to do, I've tried this numerous times, or my previous streams, I've tried to do a raid. I'm going to try and raid Robert Tables, see if this works, and I'm hoping. GitHub link is below in the description, Andre, on the channel. No worries, Ancient Coder. Glad it's helped. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you think of any later on, feel free to reach out, Twitter or anything like that. Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. And I'll try and send you all over to Robert Tables if it works. And again, getting an error message saying I cannot raid Robert Tables' channel, which I'm not sure why. I'm wondering if. Thank you, Rambling Geek. Yeah, I'm wondering if it's his raid settings aren't allowing me to raid him. So I'm just going to host him instead for tonight. And yeah, catch you all next time. See you later.